Welcome back everyone. So in today's video I will be showing you how to automate loading of Excel files into Google BigQuery. Alright, so assume you have a file in Excel or CSV, JSON, basically any flat file, and you want to load that data to BigQuery, and instead of manually doing it, you want to automate that process. So how will you go about it? So there are a few ways, and in today's video I'll just be showing you one way of doing that. Okay, so this is a very basic diagram here. Basically we are loading data from an Excel file into Google BigQuery, and again we want to automate this. All right, so how do we go about that? So the first thing that I would like to show you is our BigQuery environment, and then from there I'll show you how the Excel file looks like, and then we'll go ahead and automate the loading of this file into Google BigQuery. All right, so I'm going to go over to my BigQuery environment now, and again you do need your GCP account for this. So if you don't have a Google Cloud Platform account, go ahead and sign up. And once you sign up, you this is the dashboard, the default dashboard. And from here, if you want to go to BigQuery, you can just go to navigation menu here, and you can scroll down or basically search here for BigQuery. If you don't want to scroll down and just open this, I'm going to open this in a new tab. This brings you to a BigQuery Studio. So this is how the studio looks like. And now from here, for this video, I do have this project here. If I expand this, I have created a number of data sets in the past. So the data set that we are going to be using today is this one for CK Data Tech. Again, if you have not created a dataset before, I did a few videos on this. So do take a look into those videos. I will put the links as well in the description, but it's pretty much straightforward. You just go ahead and right click here, create a dataset, put the dataset ID here, and then just go ahead and hit create here. Okay, so I'm not going to do that. So this is again the dataset that we will be using. So we don't have the table here, but once we run our process, it's going to create the table for us under this dataset ID. Okay, and now once this is our BigQuery environment, so the next thing that we want to do is to go over to the file. So the file that we will be loading, again, you can load any type of file. The one that I will be loading today is Excel file. You can also load CSV files, you can load JSON files. Any file that BigQuery supports, you can do that. Okay, so this is how the file looks like. Let me see if I can enlarge this a little bit. So we have this customer data file, which has customer ID, name, email, sign up date, subscription status, and you can see some of these are not real data. These are kind of like generated data. So hopefully we don't have any PII information for this, but yeah, you can use any real data that you have. The process will be similar. Okay, so this is the file that we have. It has this file has 100 records. Okay, so we do have 100 records here. This 101, but we do have, yeah, it includes the head as well. So we have 100 records here. Now we will be loading this file to our BigQuery environment. So how do we go about that? Okay, so the process I'll be showing you today is through using a Python script, and of course we will not schedule it, but you can schedule that script if you need to, or you can just manually run the script. But this helps you avoid the clicking if you want to go through the UI. So that script will help you. Just run the script. It's going to pick the data and then load it to BigQuery. Okay, so for that I'm going to use Visual Studio Code for that. So I'm going to open Visual Studio Code here now, and what I will do here is I'm going to let me just close this and then open it again so that I can start from a clean slate here. So what I will do here is I'm going to open, let me just close this because I was using it before. I don't know if it's going to disappear, but it keeps coming, but it doesn't matter really. What you would like to do here is to open the working directory in your local environment. So in this case, I'm already it's already logged me in, or it's, you know, I'm already inside that directory. But to do that, you can go ahead and open folder, And all you have to do from here is basically open the working directory where you want to have your code stored, right? So in this case, I'm using this sandbox folder here. So just select that and then open it. It's going to bring, it's going to open it in Visual Studio Code. Okay, so Visual Studio Code again is an editor. So if you are looking for an editor, just download Visual Studio Code. It's pretty neat. Okay, so right here I have created a number of folders within that sandbox directory, and so I created BigQuery here, Google BigQuery, which is where now we have that script. So I'll be walking you through this script. Okay, so this script basically is the one that will be loading the data to Google BigQuery. So I've created this. You can create it or you can just write the script. It doesn't matter. I just put it this way just for structure and all. So before we go through this query, there are a few things that you need to do. And basically, we want to install the libraries that we will be using in this process. So under requirements .txt file here, I have added these libraries which will be essential in this process. So the first one that we need is Google Cloud BigQuery. So this is the library that will let us interact with BigQuery. We also have Open PyExcel, and I included this because we will be loading an Excel file to Google BigQuery. And then we have pandas. We want to load the data to pandas, and then from here, from pandas, we load it eventually to BigQuery. And then we have IPython kernel here. This one, I did this because I want to write a notebook for this. But if you just want to write a Python script instead of using Python notebook, then you don't really need this. And then we have PyArrow, which is required also for this process, and pandas GPQ. Okay, so these are the libraries that you need. And now the next thing that we need to do is to install these libraries. And in order to do that, we don't want to install this globally in our environment. So we will have to create a Python virtual environment for this. So to do that, just go to your terminal here. And if you don't see terminal here, sometimes when you open it, you don't see it. So if you don't see this, you can go up here. If you're on Mac, you will see terminal here. So all you have to do is just open new terminal, and it's going to open it at the bottom here. From there, you can see that by default, it's going to bring you to your directory, which is sandbox here. And if you do ls, then you'll see the rest of these other directories that I've created on top. So I'm going to create a Python virtual environment within this directory here. So to do that, we'll just go ahead and do Python 3. You can also do Python if you're on Windows. I think for me, I have Python 3 installed as a default Python version. So we'll just do then m, and then let me just increase this a little bit. Maybe not. I hope that you can see that. Okay, and then v and v. And then I'm also going to call this virtual environment v and v as well. Okay, and then we'll just go ahead and execute this. This is going to create our Python virtual environment now, and you can see here it created additional folder here. And then from there we can go ahead and activate this. So to activate that, we can do source and then v and v. Under pin we have activate. Just go ahead and do that. And when you see this at the beginning here, it gets appended here. Basically it switches you into that virtual environment. This means that you are now inside your virtual environment. And now if you go ahead and install these libraries, they will be installed inside the environment rather than your global machine. Okay, all right, so we can do pip freeze here to make sure that there is nothing inside this virtual environment. That means that we don't have any library currently installed. And now let's go ahead and install this library. So to do that, I will go ahead and do pip install r requirements. Okay, so this is going to install all of these libraries here, and we'll just execute it, and this is going to install them. So what it does is, if you have previously installed it within this Python virtual environment, it will locate them. But if this is a new one, then it will just go ahead and pull them and install them to your machine. Okay, again, it's going to install within the Python virtual environment. All right, there we go. So if you do again pip freeze, we should have at least a number of libraries now. There we go. Okay, very good. So that means that we have our libraries installed now, and the next thing that we'll do is to go ahead and write our script and load that file. Okay, so for that, again, I do already have it here. But before we do that, because we are writing this to BigQuery, there is one additional requirement that you do need for this, and that is a Google Cloud CLI. Okay, so Cloud SDK or CLI will install for you gcloud and a number of other libraries that will enable you to really write from your local machine into Google BigQuery or a Google platform in general. So we do need to do that, and I already did a video previously where I went through the process of installing gcloud or a Google Cloud SDK into your local machine. So to do that, if you just want to confirm if it's there, so you can do gcloud version. And you can, if you see something like this, that means that you have SDK installed. So you can see here I do have gcloud, and gcloud here we have Google SDK, and we have PQ and GSUtil as well. So these are some of the utilities that come with Cloud SDK. So we do need that installed for this process as well. Again, I did the video for that, and I'll put it in the description, and you can go through that in order to install it. Okay, so the next thing that we need to do now is for us to log in. Okay, so we need to log in into our Google Cloud environment, because the script will need to use that. Otherwise, we will not be able to access BigQuery, and you will get some authentication or authorization kind of permission issues. So to log in, the command that I like to use is this one, gcloud or the application default login. So if you use this, this will let your code be able to write to Google environment. Sometimes you will see this this command here, just auth login. This works okay, but if you are if you want to like write application code that is going to write into your BigQuery environment or Google Cloud Platform environment, sometimes it does not include all the login information. So we'll just go with this one, which will let us now log into our environment fully, right? So it gives you all the permissions. So all you have to do is just run that command. So gcloud or the application default login. Okay, so you execute that, it's going to ask you to select your email, and then all you have to do is just go ahead and give the permissions for that account, right? So just go ahead, and you can see now it says you are now authenticated with gcloud CLI. And if you come back to your command or terminal here, you will see now that this one is, your credentials have been saved. If you want to know where they are saved, the directory is right here. Okay, so this is where the JSON file is that will let you now access your Google Cloud environment. So you can navigate there and check this JSON. It will contain some credential information. All right, so that means that we are good now. And now the next thing that we want to do is now go ahead and write the script. Okay, so I'm just going to go over here, and this is a script. Now for the script to run, it requires you to log into a Python environment, right? So because it needs to know where the libraries are located. So for that, when you write your code, in this case I'm using a Python kernel. So basically I just went ahead and created the file here, load excel to pq.ipynp. So this one is using the IPython kernel, kind of like Jupyter Notebook really within Visual Studio Code. So once you're here, it will ask you which environment you want to use. So right here you can select the environment. So if you click into this, you will see a number of environments here. I'm already selected into the environment here, but if you want to select another one, then you can just hit select and then Python virtual environments or environment here, and you will see the list here. So the one that we are selected to is the Python virtual environment. So just use that. If you want to use any different version of Python, then you can also select those versions in this section here. Okay, so we are now selected into a Python virtual environment. That means that this notebook now is able to recognize those libraries, right? There we go. Okay, and then at the top here, we want to import pandas and Google BigQuery because those are the ones I will be using. And then just go ahead and run this. So for this, I'm clicking Shift and Return for in Mac environment, but you can just run it manually here. I think, yeah, if you click right here, just run, it's going to run it as well. Okay, so this one has run here, and then down here, I'm basically putting the GCP details. So this is the project ID, and that will be this one here. So the project ID is this one. Just grabbing this value here and putting here, and then the dataset ID that I'm using will be this one here. So just copying that and putting here, and then for the table name, so this table name does not exist, but when we run the script, it's going to create. So if you come back inside this dataset, you don't see that table, right? So you don't see that table right here. So basically, we just want to specify the name of the table that will be created in BigQuery when we run the script. So I'm putting that here. And then now the next thing, so let's go ahead and run this. And then the next thing is we want to load the Excel file now. So for this, we want to load first into pandas, and then from pandas, we will load it into a BigQuery, right? So, okay, so for that, I'm using the PD Excel, right? So we want to use pandas read Excel function or method, and we want to navigate to where the Excel file is located. So as you can see, right here, we have our code running in the BigQuery folder. So if you go to your parent directory, that will be one of these. So this is where our code is, right? So if you go to BigQuery here, this is where our code is located inside BigQuery. Now to navigate back to where the data is, you do need to go 2 steps back up. So if you go like that in your terminal, then you can see that takes you to where your data is, right? So basically you can do the same thing. So we are just going 2 steps up, and we want to go into data directory, and inside it there is where we have our customer data Excel file. So that is where the Excel is. So you can also put it within your root directory. You just want to make sure that your code is able to find that Excel file, okay? And then we go ahead and execute that. So you can see this one runs fine. And then the next thing that we want to do here, we want to initialize the client here. So I'm just going to put that comment here. Okay, so initialize the BigQuery client. This basically lets us connect to BigQuery environment. So just go ahead and execute that. You can see this one is checkmark. That means that this one ran fine. And then the next thing that we want to do now is to define our table ID. So the table ID will be looking like this. So we have our project ID, dataset ID, and then the table name. So these ones we already specified them up here. So we just put it down here, and that will define our table ID. Okay, we go ahead and click that, and this gives you the table ID. Now if you want to print the table ID here, so if you do table ID here, that will give you how the table ID looks like. So you can see data engineering.ckdatatech. The customer data, which is our table name. Okay, so that's just one way to make, to confirm that your table ID is coming in properly. All right, and then now the last thing that we need to do here is to load this data to BigQuery. Okay, so there are 2 ways of doing that. By default, it loads your data to BigQuery as append. So what that means is if the table exists in BigQuery, it's going to append the data from your Excel file into that table. If the table does not, well, the first time that you really run this, right, it's going to create a table for you and then load the data. Subsequent runs, it finds the table and then basically appends the data. So it's not going to overwrite anything that is in there, and we will see how that looks like. So what we're doing here is we are just defining this job variable here using that, which is going to be using the BigQuery client, and we are using this load table from data frame. So this function here is part of the BigQuery library. It's part of this one here. So basically, we are using that method here, and right there we want to pass in the data frame, which is going to be our data here, and then the table ID. So basically, we are telling this function to load our data into the table ID, which is what we define right here. And then we're basically going to bring back the results. And down here, I wanted to get some additional information, like for example, if this was successfully loaded. So I'm defining here the table, getting the table metadata really once we have loaded it. So it loads the data first, and then we go ahead and grab the metadata. So this will grab some information like the output rows, and then the number of rows and things like that. So down here we are printing the number of rows that were loaded, and then now how many records exist in that table after we load it. Okay, so again, this is going to append this data into the table. It's going to create the table and then append the data from the Excel file into this table. All right, so let's go ahead now and run this. So I'm going to now run this, and if everything is good, we will be able to load this data into our table. And this one took a few seconds, successfully ran, and as you can see now, it tells you that we have successfully loaded 100 records into this table here, and the total number of rows now are at 100. Okay, so it just tells you how many records now, because we created this and then we loaded these rows. That means we have the number of rows matching the number of rows in the file, right? So let's go ahead and confirm that in BigQuery. So if you go now to BigQuery and then refresh it, you can now see that we have the additional table here created, customer data, which was part of our script. And if you click into this now, you will see that we have our schema or a field names here, and it also infers the field or the data types for the fields, right? So this one, customer ID, is an integer, name, email, strings, sign up date time, and then subscription status is a string. So if you preview this data now, you will see that we have our data loaded now properly, and you can see at the bottom here, these are 100 rows. That matches what we have in our Excel file. All right, there we go. So that means that we have successfully loaded our data now. And from here, I think you are good now to use your data. If you wanted to take this data further and do some reporting on top, write some scripts on top of it, then you can do that. One thing you can see also here is within the details, you can see the number of rows and how big this table is. If you had things like partitioning, then you will see that information within this section as well, but we don't have any partitions or a clustering enabled for this table, but we can see this information right now as they are. Okay, so this one is append, and to just show you how that behavior looks like, so we are going to run that script again, and assuming you wanted to load additional data for this table, how will that look like? Okay, so we are just going to run this again from the top bottom to the bottom. So just run this all, and it's just going to again append the records, and as you can see now, the records here are increased to 200, right? Because we added additional 100 records. So if you refresh this one now, we have 200 records. Now, granted, this will be duplicate data, right? So if you query this data, this will give you duplicate records because I basically loaded the same file twice, right? Awesome. Okay, so that's how the behavior looks like. Now if you didn't want that and you wanted to truncate the table in BigQuery before loading, then to do that, I'm going to comment this section here, and we're just going to enable this second section here. So what you want to do if you want to do the right truncate is to put the, so you want to use this method called load job config. So this basically defines your configurations, and you can specify here how you want the right disposition to be. So in this case, we want to do right truncate, and this is going to truncate the table in BigQuery and then load the file after that. Okay, so this one is the only thing I guess that we added here. And of course, yeah, also this one, in your load table from data frame, you put the table ID and then the job config as well. Okay, so here we are using the right disposition as right truncate. Okay, and then the rest of this other one remain the same. So now if we run this script, what we expect to see is the table now will be truncated, and we will only have 100 records. So I'm not going to do anything to the BigQuery table. We will just go ahead and I will save this, and then we will go ahead and run everything. So we'll see how the behavior looks like for this right truncate. So you can see now we have loaded again 100 records from that file, and then we have the total number of rows within BigQuery as 100. So it went ahead and truncated the previous 200 records and then basically loaded the 100 records from the Excel file. All right, so that's how the right truncate behavior looks like. And if we run it again, it's always going to truncate, so the number of records will remain 100 every time you run this, because it will wipe BigQuery and then basically load the new set of data. Okay, so whichever depending on your use case, you can either go with the default right append, or you can go with this option where you are truncating the data before loading it. Okay, but basically that is how you do it in using Python. And basically now you can see that we have automated, or basically, yeah, we have kind of like automated this. So if you want this to be scheduled as a cron job, then you can put it either in Airflow, or you can write a cron job that is going to load this file. But now, instead of manually going through the console or the BigQuery Studio UI and clicking things around to load this Excel file, now you have a script here. So the next time you get a new set of file, all you have to do is basically replace this file here, and as long as the table remains the same, or even if it's a new set of file altogether and you want to load it to BigQuery, instead of just going through the UI and clicking and you know, doing a lot of clicks, really, you can just put this into a script and basically just replace where necessary, and then go ahead and run. It runs very fast. So if you were to compare the whole process of loading, you know, a file to BigQuery using the manual click through in the UI, that will take you probably like 5 to 10 minutes depending on how big the file is. But this one, you know, once you write the script the first time, the next time you just replace it, it runs within a few seconds or even a minute, and you are good to go. All right, so this is how you can automate loading of Excel file to BigQuery environment. And I hope this video was helpful, and if it was, please give it a thumbs up, and also do subscribe to the channel if you are new to the channel, so that you can stay updated whenever I release videos like this. Alright guys, that's all I had for you in this video. I hope this video again was helpful, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.